Welcome to Beauty and the Mess, redefining what it means to have it all and how to find fulfillment in life. And now your host, transformational life coach, and creator of the activewear line Beauty and the Mess, Robin Emmerich.
Welcome to Beauty and the Mess podcast. Today we've got Bre Brown, founder of Modern Manifestation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I am so excited. You are one of the first to have on here just to simply show up and see, through all of this uncertain time and massive change in the world. I'd love to hear how you're doing, what you're doing, and kind of what is showing up for you through this time.
Yeah. Right now, doing well. The quarantine has, I'm sure with a lot of people, has kind of forced the pendulum the other way, as we kind of spoke to earlier, and it's been really nice in my opinion. Obviously there's a lot of terrible things that have happened that have put us in this position, but it's forcing a lot of people, I think, to slow down and get out of that really busy mindset and cyclical sort of feeling and high anxiety and stress that everyone I felt was feeling as a globe. And now everyone's just, having to calm down, find hobbies, do things that are a little bit more quiet and slow. And I think it's been nice just to have that time personally to contrast how our lives were before everything happened. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it, even though obviously we wish things were different. But so lately things have been going great, just trying to focus on modern manifestation, as well as my other job. I do commercial real estate as well. So those two things together. And then, things that have really been showing up for me lately is, now that we have all this time to dedicate to these other things, whether it's a side hustle or a hobby or personal growth or whatever it is, I have a tendency of going overboard on the perfectionist side. And so that's one thing I've been dealing with lately, is getting to a point where, you just need to hit go. You just need to put it out there. And so I've been in kind of this gearing up phase of, okay, now we have the time, now we're going to fine tune. And then, just finding that stopping point and saying, you know what, you could keep critiquing, but you just kind of need to hit go.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because that's showing up for so many people. So do you find yourself kind of like pressing on the gas and putting on the brakes, or do you find yourself more so like almost in an internal conflict in your head, kind of fighting back and forth of different thoughts that are coming up as why you should not move forward?
It's really a combination of the things. So just as an example, when I first sort of got this idea, I was like, I just have to go right now and get everything. So, I got the domain, I got the Instagram handles, I got, everything. And I got the logo made all within a matter of like a week. And I was like, okay, great. Now I'm going to start working on posts. And I started working on posts. And then that little voice that we all have just started creeping up, like, well, who are you to be writing about these topics? Who's going to listen to what you have to say and or really care about your perspective? So that little voice kind of creeps up, and then, just trying to handle that as well. And so right now with where I'm at, I have things in a pretty good place for where I want them, but I'm in that place where I need to just press go and actually publish everything. So as an example, I have my website ready to go, and I just haven't actually pressed publish yet. And a big part of that is, what we're talking about now is just never feeling quite ready, and knowing that I don't think I ever will feel quite ready, but trying to have that positive mindset. And, I know we've talked about abundance before, just being like, whatever happens, happens. Whoever needs to get the messages that you're going to share are. And if that's two people, fantastic. And then I think just having that mindset of, I'm on the right path, whatever I do. And when I hit go, it's going to hit the right people, and it's going to, the message is going to reach those that need it, and just being okay with that. And so I'm just right now still trying to struggle to turn down my perfectionism and just, allow myself to take that next step. So that's what I'm gearing up to do, hopefully in the coming weeks.
Okay, perfect. So you can feel that feeling that I described as far as like that that inner part of your mind that's like saying one thing and then like being your cheerleader, pumping you up and saying, no, it's okay, we can just move this. And then it goes back to this, and it's like this boxing match in your head, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is our humanness, right? That's the power of the mind. So how I most effectively help people through that is by discerning the exact thought statements that our mind is saying and the exact statements that the heart is saying. If you can envision that part of you in your mind that's saying, who am I to do this? Who's going to read this? I'm going to receive crickets as soon as I hit that publish button. Whatever it is, your mind is taking charge in an attempt to self-sabotage, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not only your mind, our minds, they're strong, they're negative, they're critical, they're judgmental, and they're most often judgmental and critical of ourselves more so than others,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then when you think about the heart is, you know, where we have hopes and dreams and expansion, and we know deep down it's going to be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know, like, you know, we can have that self-talk of just keep taking one step in front of the other,
Mm-hmm.
because we know in our hearts that things are going to work out. And if they don't, we know that we can pivot, right? We know that we can make a change and continue moving forward. When you think about the heart, there's like, you can feel more expansion, right? That's where you can like begin to take a deep breath, right? It's like, okay, everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're in your head, it's like so constricting that you don't want to click that publish button. You're just like, I don't even know what to do now, right?
Yep.
Our minds are so strong that they can just paralyze us, or maybe not even paralyze us, but just create a strong enough voice that says, I'm going to go focus on my other work. I don't know about this.
Right.
Just enough to like veer us off in another direction.
Yeah.
Veer us away from our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want is to bring these two together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how we bring these two together is by getting them on the same page so that they're no longer conflicting and like hitting up against each other.
Right.
The way that I've learned to do this, and an effective way of doing this, is to, one, if you can kind of uncross your legs if they're crossed, which mine were.
Always.
Yes. And begin to breathe into your stomach and just take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you want to. You can leave them open, whatever feels more comfortable. But we're just opening up these energy centers. You know, the first, second, and third chakras are where we hold a lot of the tribal energy of the physical world. And we're just going to open up these channels here. And then you breathe into the lower back and take about 2 to 3 deep breaths into the lower back. And then breathe into your hips and just feel yourself sinking down into your chair. And then I want you to just connect to that highest part of you. Universe, to source, to God, to love, to truth. Whatever language you use, I just want you to visualize connecting to that highest part of you that's your connection within and all around. And I want you to just ask yourself, is it in my highest good to believe that I am not the one to carry forth this work? You can ask it in your mind, you can ask it out loud, and then just feel your body. And then tell me, how does your body feel?
When thinking of the negative thoughts, there's definitely a heavier feeling.
Yeah.
Into where like the insides kind of want to collapse inward on themselves.
Yes. And where can you feel that?
Honestly, kind of more in like the stomach area for me.
Yep.
Well, it kind of runs, I would say, centrally, like through the heart, stomach
Yep.
area.
Yep. I feel that.
I guess you would call it.
Yeah. So your clear answer is no, right?
Right. Yeah.
It is not in your highest good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel light and good and
Right.
all those.
So if you contrast that with what your heart wants, which is that light, what would be the language that your heart uses? It would say, I want to
create a safe space for women to come to and learn about manifestation and realizing and actualizing their goals in life via another, train of thought that they may not have experienced before.
I love that.
Providing a gateway. And that feels good. That feels, like a more, that's what life can be about,
Right. And
expansive.
they're more connected now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next
identity that you hear about sometimes.
And then what?
I said it reminds me of that ego versus is it identity versus ego, or you probably know better than I do, where they talk about your that little voice being the ego that tries to tell you can't do things. That way you never prove yourself that you're not capable. If you never actually try for it, then okay, great, you can't fail. But then it doesn't really align with, in a way it kind of goes against the identity that you're creating for yourself too.
Yes, I was literally just having that conversation about an hour ago. And, from everything I've learned, our subconscious is really the control center. The last 10 years of doing what I've been doing, it's really been tapping into the subconscious and retraining our thought patterns that has changed my own life.
Yeah.
Because our minds, and my mind in particular, much like most women I meet, because like attracts like, we aren't taught how to tap into the power of the mind and how to use it as a guide. And it often becomes our biggest place of self-sabotage because we don't know how to program it and how to steer it, right? Like steering our own ship. We're not taught that. So we allow our emotions and our seeking approval and people pleasing skill sets that we're great at to kind of overtake what we don't know to do. And through that, we kind of get caught up in the more like masculine driven, perfectionistic tendencies because we're striving to maintain something that really isn't natural for us. What is more natural for us is when we are in our hearts and in that, desire that you just brought yourself to really feeling what you're called to do and your sense of passion and purpose and that like light within you that shines when you come from that place. It's our femininity. It's our fluidity. It's, everything that in our society we have been kind of pulled back from because we're not taught how to stay in it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for really opening up to that journey of bringing the two together, because it's truly where I encourage everyone to start. And you can continue to do this with the other thought patterns that you have and just utilize this technique of going straight to that source within you that has all of the knowing and awareness and asking for the truth, because otherwise we're simply betraying ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We're allowing our minds to override our own truth. And in that we begin to attract people, places, and things that we will feel betray us in effect to show us that we're actually betraying our own selves.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And, I was actually in a place probably about a year or two ago where I just felt exhausted all the time after work. And, I'm in my day job outside of modern manifestation is a commercial real estate, and it's a male dominated industry. And to your point, in business, they very much lean on the masculine side of things and don't necessarily, teach us to embrace our femininity and intuition and things like that into the workforce. And as a result, exactly what you're talking about here, I always felt conflicted at the end of the day, like, okay, great, I had a great day at work, but I also feel really tired and exhausted, and I'm not sure why, because I got enough sleep, I got a workout in, like, I don't know what the issue is. I'm eating well. I couldn't really pinpoint it. And then, I think a big part of that was just trying to balance that feminine and masculinity throughout my day, and realizing that I wasn't living my true self by trying to be the masculine version of this business person that just didn't really speak to me. And so, I think that, look, in hindsight, with you saying that, I kind of intuitively started making those changes, but never really put words to it. And so I think that you're describing it just now was exactly what the issue was. And thankfully my body was like, okay, I think this is the direction we need to move in, and it feels good. But hearing you articulate why that was is, I think, critical, because that's exactly what it was. It's just that balance of the two, and trying to, having to make that shift for myself in terms of how I approach a business in order to just get rid of that, mundane exhaustion I was feeling all the time.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so honored to, and so appreciate your openness and vulnerability to be authentically you, because so many women are struggling with this, and you're not alone in this. I'm not alone in this. We're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the more that we have these conversations and realize, that's the whole inspiration behind my athleisure brand, Beauty in the Mess, was how it is often in that mess, right? Like the chaos that we're experiencing now, it's in all of this that the beauty and growth and opportunities happen. And a lot of times it may be hard to see in the moment, but just that remembering of, if we can just embrace the mess, right? Like, love the mess and be an appreciation of it, because there is a purpose to it if we can just keep walking forward, in a sense. Keep trusting and moving forward.
Yeah, and it takes you out of that perfectionist mindset too, a little bit.
Which I struggled with my whole life. Yes, you are not alone in that. And the thing I can say is, don't even try anymore, because it's not real.
I think that's your next growth hurdle, is like just eliminating that word from my vocabulary and not trying to embrace it. But that's
or just keep the mantra, embrace the mess. I accept the mess. Like, turn
it to my bedroom wall.
Yes, turn it into fun, because at the end of the day, I look back over my life and I'm like, what was I thinking, trying to be this like perfect good girl? How did I not see the good in my heart? Like, that was it. It was just in my heart. It didn't need to be proven or helping everyone else before myself to have it seen or recognized, because it was really just a recognition of my own self. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, you can have people tell you all day long how amazing you are, yet the truth of that is only found when you actually feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that as you connect the mind and heart and continue to, I've seen you blossom over the last year. And I've seen you, without even knowing much, I've seen you come into your femininity and authenticity. And I think that if you can continue to utilize this tool and bring yourself more and more into the truth in your heart, you're going to see all of this just continue to flow for you. And now you can hit that publish button with confidence, and you'll be like, I accept this mess, publish.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever happens, you have the resilience to move forward.
Right. And you kind of mentioned this a second ago too, is just, becoming comfortable with myself. I remember when I first got into, the corporate world years ago, and, again, trying to be the masculine, like, okay, my emails we're not going to have any exclamation points. We're not going to have any smiley faces. It's going to be very business oriented. And I'm going to go and meet with a client and I'm just going to be very, matter of fact, and here's what it is, and using the lingo that the guys use, like balls in your court, Dave, things like that. And I was just like, gosh, no wonder I felt exhausted and, kind of unhappy. And then lately I've switched that to, you know what, I don't need to be the other brokers in my office. I can be my female version of this, tap into that intuition and be more authentic and true to how I like to carry myself, which is not in that way. I don't want to call people chief, or it's just not who I am. And so I think a big part of that was just accepting and also finding out a little bit more about who I am and making that time. So I appreciate what you just said, because it kind of reminded me of that journey that I think that a lot of young women especially haven't given themselves time to do, or even maybe the permission.
Yeah, because a lot of people just don't know, right? Like, we don't know what we don't know. And
yeah,
I was led to my work by my acupuncturist, and he had, kind of referred me to what I call my first spiritual director. And I had no idea that this work even existed. And that was 15 years ago. And back then it was a lot more rare than it is today. So I'm grateful for the awareness that we have as a whole. Yet still so many women in particular, and men, just don't know what's available to them. So thank you for being a leader in all of this, and for your vulnerability and openness and just realness.
Yeah, anytime. I'm reading Bre Brown, so I feel like I have to try to apply.
So you have a standard to uphold.
Okay, I'm reading her books. Like, I need to really invest in the vulnerability thing. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Of course,
and
great.
Yes, truly. And where can people follow you?
Yeah, I would say the best place right now is Instagram at Modern Manifestation. And then hopefully by the time you post this and or the short weeks following, my website will launch, which is themodernmanifestation.com.
Yep, let's shift that. I am about to publish modernmanifestation.com.
And it will be themodernmanifestation.com.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on Beauty and the Mess. Feel free to visit Robin on Instagram at Robin_Emmerich. Keep on living your beautiful life and embrace the mess.